Hi guys.
Ooh, she's doing my intro. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about how to get high-paying international jobs, especially from a black girl's perspective. So I brought my friend Ife here, and this is like one of my oldest post-teenage friends. She is a lovely lady. So we went to the same uni. Yeah, we used to bump into each other in the club scene because, you know, we partied a lot.
Manchester nightlife.
We both hustled our butts off, and we ended up working in the city, so City of London. We worked for two different law firms. I worked for a Magic Circle law firm, she worked for a really big American law firm. And I thought it would be really interesting to bring her on to talk about her experiences and how she strategized to get the job and what it was like to be a black girl in the city.
I wanted to be a lawyer my whole life. Not everyone thinks that way, but it's the kind of job, especially if you do want to end up a Magic Circle law firm or a US law firm, you have to be so committed to it. That's not really a tip, it's more just a statement.
Yeah.
Are you really, really committed to being a lawyer? And if you can't answer that yes 100%, then just change jobs.
It.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it. Sometimes I would be like, do you want to like go out, let's do something? No, you were always in the library. I've been quite focused as well, but you know, I'm just here to pass, to be honest. Like obviously get the grades, but I just tried not to like be too dictated by work and stuff. But I definitely agree that you have to have a strategy, otherwise it's not worth it.
As soon as you decide that that's what you want to do as a profession, you have to have those key things in place. So what uni you go to is extremely important, and trying to get work experience from as early as possible, that is another very important thing. To go back to my journey, went to Manchester, graduated, went to College of Law, did my LPC with her. Straight after that, started my training contract with a US firm.
I know that a lot of people struggle with making that investment for law school without actually having a training contract. I know that a lot of people watching this channel are probably American, but the way it works in the UK is that if you get a job with like a big company, they will sponsor you to go to law school, and that's a bit of stress off your shoulders.
Yeah.
So for me, like I got the job before I got to law school, but I had paid for law school, which a lot of people don't know, before I got that job. Like I honestly,
Did
like,
they pay you back?
They paid me back.
Yeah.
The application forms that I submitted to get my training contract were on point. I really dove deep into like my strengths. I sold the hell out of myself. And if you guys have watched my previous videos where I talk about the importance of like goal setting and personal branding and stuff, I'll link them at the top somewhere. These are the exercises that I did. Yeah, you need to.
Oh.
These are the exercises that I did, and it made it easier to complete those application forms. And actually, like, I got a lot of interviews from that, and I had paid my deposit for law school, and luckily in the gap between getting the job and before starting law school, I got the offer. And the first question I asked was like, thanks for this job offer, but are you gonna pay me back? so that was how I was able to like fund my law school. But honestly, I was terrified. And I think it's great that if I also didn't have like a training contract before law school, because it gives you an idea that you don't necessarily need to have everything lined up, but if you have a focus, you will get there. Were you worried about not having a training contract?
I wasn't, because it kind of links back with what you were just saying about goals and focus, and because I knew that that's what I wanted for myself, and this is my goal and this is my plan, so full steam ahead. I was very fortunate to have parents that were able to help me to finance law school, because it is expensive and it's increased a lot, but you have to see it in that way. It's an investment in the same way people invest in themselves all the time, going on courses, buying hair. No, this
buying
is
hair.
But it's true. If it means you go without buying hair for 3 years to then be able to put money away
for law school,
it's worth it.
Yes. And actually that's what that partner said to me. What he said to me at the time is like, okay, I know it's risky for you to pay for law school without actually having an offer in the end, but if this is something that you're super dedicated to doing, then it's always going to be an asset. What was your application process like?
At the time I knew I wanted to live in London, but my family are in Sheffield. There were only a handful of good firms. I had the interviews in London, even though I kind of made it clear that I could be open to Sheffield, and I didn't didn't end up getting them, but being able to show that there was a real reason as to why I'd picked them. I know there was more than that, so this is a bit of a superficial one, but you know, Sheffield, you have these roots in Sheffield, you have X, Y, and Z, you know, the founding partner was from Sheffield. To be able to have something that you've researched and found yourself, then that helps you to stand out.
I love that. For me, like before my interview at the Magic Circle firm that I worked at, I just stalked their YouTube channel, and this was 8 years ago, 7, 8 years ago,
wow.
And YouTube wasn't really a thing, and they just put a couple of videos. And how random is it that one of the partners that interviewed me had been forced into doing a video for the graduate recruitment? So I was like, oh yeah, I remember when you said this thing about where the market is going, and he was like, oh my god, you saw that video? And we just had like banter during my like assessment, which made it easier for me to relax.
That's the main criticism, I think, from a lot of, you know, HR teams at law firms, is that people almost do copy and paste application, where if you're applying for only Magic Circle firms anyway and say the same thing but without saying something meaningful, which is what you have to find a way to communicate that. Even if on the surface they all look the same, then the onus is on you to dig deeper, because you won't get that interview or you won't get that job unless you really can put your finger on something that you love about them.
So if you're doing application forms, or even if the application form is just as simple as like CV and cover letter, you have to tailor it. Like, don't make that mistake and say, oh, like it's so long. I remember the pain, trust me. Like when I was submitting applications where I would just like tweak a little thing, I didn't get anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how you hear of people that literally have submitted hundreds of applications
and then no response.
And still get no response.
And just another tip, so I worked for one of the big 4 accounting consulting companies. Yeah, they didn't pay me. This was my first job out of uni, didn't have a training contract, I was hustling my ass off, but I wanted their name on my CV. Nice. And actually I ended up working in their marketing/graduate recruitment department, and I definitely got the insight into what you were saying, how they were just like, we have so many applications to review all the time, that one, they have technology that filters out certain like applications that don't have some of the key competencies that they're looking for. And this is why you really need to like go to recruitment fairs and like really put in the effort to learn about each individual firm, because sometimes technology is not on your side. If your application doesn't have the keywords, it's not going to get in. Recruiters, I really like respect them, because they take their time to try and make sure that they give everyone a chance. And if your application just sounds the same as someone else, they're not going to be interested. How was your assessment day? Do you remember that?
I had an interview with associates. They typically will tell you who's interviewing you in advance, so again, do your research. I was able to research. I interviewed with 2 associates, interviewed with 2 partners, and I researched all 4 of them in detail. So I was able to ask really tailored questions and say things like, oh, when you did that secondment to Bank of America, what was that like? Do you offer secondments here like that? Was that when you... It just shows...
Stalker!
I've used the word stalker before and said it as a joke, but they love it.
Yeah,
they really love it. It just shows that bit of initiative. It shows that you're passionate, enthusiastic, you've done your research, and it's a good way to kind of help build rapport, which in an interview is everything. And then you can use that to kind of springboard your questions, and the more questions that you can ask at the end of an interview, the better. Because it shows how much you want the job and how engaged you are, that you want to make sure that actually you're a good fit for them, but that they're a good fit for you too.
100%. I think that, again, this is something that I mentioned in my Sunshine Roadmap course. I'll put a link in the description below. And the whole onus of that course is to show people how the steps that you need to take to get high-paying jobs, whether in the UK or the US, wherever you live, or internationally. And the point is that people ultimately want to work with people that they like and people that they enjoy spending time with.
Definitely.
Because if you want a high-paying job, usually it comes with a lot of stress. So if you're going to be stuck with someone for like 12, 14 hours, you want to know that this person is not a robot that can repeat the stuff on the website, but someone that you can have banter with, that you can also like walk into their office at 11 p.m. and be like, girl, this contract is kicking my ass. Do you know what I mean? And I think that analyzing like the companies that you want to work for and making sure that you're the right culture fit and stuff is really important, but also like not being too rigid as well when you have your interviews. I love the fact that she mentioned the word stalker during the interview, and I think also for me, like I just like before my assessment day I was just like, Dels, don't stress out, just chill out, try and be yourself, be as professional as possible, but like inject some humor into it. And actually then it got to a point where the law firm was selling themselves to me, and what I loved about that company was that everyone who interviewed me was international. They were quite down to earth, and I was like, do you know what? I'm sold if you're sold. But I remember going on an internship with another like traditional English law firm, and I was just like, honestly, I'm just here because I need a job, but to be honest, like you wouldn't be my first choice. And I'm so glad that I didn't like actually get a job in that law firm in the end, and I got the one that I ended up with. Sometimes you just need to take anything because we need work, but it's very important for you to try and find a company where you will fit in.
I had that as well. I did well at that interview. It was exactly what we were saying about rapport, because pretty much the first thing he told me was he was a Tottenham fan, and as an Arsenal fan I said, oh, so should I just leave now then? There's no point in doing this, which he was laughing it up, and we got on very, very well. But actually it turned out that the type of work I would have been doing just wasn't right for me. It was way too financy,
which is what I do. Hey.
So didn't go for it in the end, but yeah, it's everything that we were saying really, and you just have to build that rapport, and that's the best way to make sure that you perform well at interview.
So this is another like important question. Okay, I think let me take a step back. So with the law firm that you ended up in, what was it like? Did you enjoy working there? And you know, the question we get asked, what's it like as a black girl in the city? Join the Sunshine Roadmap course, which is going to be linked in the description. Yes, and basically what that course is about is just how to strategize to get high paying jobs. I keep saying that because everyone wants to earn 6 figures, and you know, yes, you should. But also it's good for you if you don't just want to like work in the city that you live, if you want to explore as well, and you don't want to be living on $100 a month, you know. Thanks for watching.